Julio. All right. Okay, well, welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra. And the topic of the day is we're going to talk about, is there life after death? So this should be an interesting one. And I'm going to get into this in details. And for those of you who are new with me for the first time, if you want to connect with me, the best is to sign up at my website and come through the Zoom application so we can see each other and talk to one another. Some of you are viewing this broadcast on Instagram and YouTube, and I can't switch to those channels and answer questions. It's difficult for me. It's too many devices. So what we're going to do is, as always, we're going to do a meditation. Just relax, take a deep breath, don't force anything, and allow meditation to come to you. And just divert your attention inwards. Look within yourself instead of trying to force something or trying to create something or force yourself not to think. Simply just relax in this moment. Dive into this moment. Now, there's a few different ways you can do a very easy, relaxed meditation and let your mind quiet down. One is that you simply trace back your thoughts to where they're coming from. Follow the thoughts to the source, and then your mind will become quiet. Or if you have a hard time doing that, you can simply observe um your breath. Bring your attention to your breath, and then the mind becomes single pointed. That's another way of doing it. So take a deep breath, relax, and dive into meditation. Slowly, slowly come back. So, is there life after death? Well, there's certainly life after death because life is always is. So, life does not end by you and I dying. But that's not really the question because it's always it comes like what's in it for me. So, what's going to happen to me after the body dies? That's really what we're interested in. Of course, it's nice to know uh, in general what happens, but that's not what we're interested really 100%. We just want to know what's going to happen to me after my body dies, basically. And it is a little bit a complicated um, thing to talk about because it depends where you are. It depends basically um, if someone has come to the understanding of their main identification with being the consciousness, or if I am heavily identified with who I think I am. Now, if we're talking about personality, this body mind mechanism, this person who was born in a certain country, grew up with parents, guardians, in whatever culture you're in, and then you're influenced by it, if it's a religious country or not. Um, what is the totality belief of the community, of the society? Then, of course, what is your DNA makeup? And and as you're just growing up, you start to really identify with your environment, whatever is around you. So, and the general belief of most human beings is we become somebody, we become something, a person. This is my name, this is my last name, this is what I do. I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, I'm an engineer, um, I'm American, I'm Norwegian, I am Christian, I'm Muslim, whatever that is. I'm white, I'm black. We pick up these identifications. And there's nobody else, no one's around to really point us the direction of realizing that the the truth of who we are, about being the consciousness, being I I am. So there's no reason for us to think any other way. Although down deep, there is a knowing very, very deep inside. So as we're growing up, then there's this sense we are identified with a person, and you do see people around you, one at a time, they start dying and they're no longer. And so we have a tendency to identify and with death as a means that your story is going to end. And since we don't know. We have, as human beings, we have this really deep fear of the unknown. So death is one of the biggest challenges that we have, because a lot of people are very afraid of dying. There's this great fear of death, even though they don't know what it is. And they don't know of anyone who died and come back and tell you what is going on the other side. I mean, people had near death experiences, such as myself, but not that you're dead for 6 months and then after 6 months you come back and tell stories of what's going on. So naturally, the mind creates stories, and there's a lot of fear around it. And it's interesting because we grow up and seeing people around us die, but there's very little education about it. It's always a subject, a topic that is being pushed away and swept under the rug, and people don't really want to talk about it. And it's very fascinating to me. It's very interesting because it's something which is inevitable and is going to happen. And you see it happening all the time, but you still don't want to talk about it. Of the fact that it really makes a lot of people very, very uncomfortable. And again, it all goes back to this fear of the unknown, basically. That's what where it goes to. And so when you die, what dies really? What part of us is dead? Obviously, is the body is gone. It's subject to decay. Eventually, the body is gonna go, and it's inevitable. It wasn't built to last forever, and so the body's gonna go. The This person, this identification, which it's a false identification, that I am this body. I am my thinking mind. Sorry, I got some hair in my face. Am what I'm thinking is that's defines who I am, and the way I feel, my feelings, and my past story of what has happened to me is that's who I am. So this will die too. This story will disappear naturally, and after you're dead, no one's gonna 50 years after, nobody even knows you've ever existed, unless you left some mark in the history, as uh, your name is in the history, but in comparison to everyone has ever existed on this planet, if you want to sit down and calculate and put the names of the people that they left a footmark, is very, very little. It's very, very nominal in comparison. I mean, do you know who were great grandparents were? Do you know what they went through? Um, what was their story? What were they challenging? The kind of challenges they had to deal with? You don't, we don't know. You don't know 100 years ago who your relatives were and what they were doing and how they were feeling and what kind of challenges they've gone through. And a part of you is that you don't even care. It doesn't matter. It was way long ago, and they had their own stories, and you don't even think about them. So it's like it's gone. But when the awakening starts to happen, when there is this realization starts to flourish, and there is a self mechanism of self observation takes place, and there is a self inquiry of questioning, like, who am I? Where was I before I was born? What was I before I was born? Why am I here? And where am I going to go after here? So, which a lot of people on the planet don't ask that question. They're very identified with their personal story and life, and trying to make a living, or trying to find love, or whatever that they're engaged with. Most people never ask these questions. But then it happens for the spiritual seeker that is wondering, and this question starts to arise, that why am I here? What am I doing here? What is the purpose of this life? And where was I before I was born? And where am I going to be after I die? So your attention starts to go inwards and asking questions. And as this mechanism, as this event starts to happen, your consciousness starts to expand. You start to look beyond this and your story. And we all have our own personal story. So you begin to pay attention. And in that, things starts to shift. So, when we were watching YouTube videos from different spiritual teachers, we're reading books, uh, get into meditation, we start doing inquiry, and because you want to get an answer and get an idea of what's up, what's going on. In order to get a much better understanding of what's gonna happen, or what is going on after I die, is you have to figure out a way to go beyond the mind. Somehow you have to come across to because you cannot understand it with the mind, with the thinking mind. Because the thinking mind, you're going to have a story for it. And there's a lot of different stories. I mean, in the past, the story was that you're going to go to hell or you're going to go to heaven. That's the story that we heard, or I heard when I was growing up. And that's what pretty much religion is going to tell you. And which, as I started to grow up and started to expand my consciousness, I started to realize that's a fairy tale story. It's a children's story, that there is a heaven and there's a hell. And very quickly I realized this is bullshit. It's just fictional story. It's has nothing to do with the reality of how things are and how things work. And but if you learn through self work and meditation, and slowly go beyond the mind, somehow you learn to bypass the mind and go into this other place, entering into a 5D awareness. having a journey from the head to the heart, and going from this analytical thinking, this way of trying to figure things out in your head, going into this other place of being, that you're here, but you're not thinking. There's no thoughts, and you're simply are, which it does happen in it. To almost everyone on the planet, at one point they have an experience of it, but they don't have a point of reference or any kind of training or guidance. But for those of you who are meditating, there are times that you're able to go beyond your thinking mind. You're not thinking, and you go into this place of simply being, and you're here. But your mind doesn't go anywhere, it's silent. You have gone beyond thoughts. So you're here and you're not thinking. And in this shift, as it happens, that you dive into this quantum field of the oneness, this place of simply being. Now, again, this could happen in a lot of different ways. What a lot of people happen is if they go on a vacation or they're in the nature, and there's somewhere very peaceful, and the mind becomes quiet, or they're able to tap into the silence. So you're here and you're not identifying with anything. You're not somebody, you're not a person. And then space opens up and expansion takes place. And since there's no thoughts, there's no story. And the question is there life after death? It's a thought that you're thinking, you're questioning it. That what's going to happen to me after I die? Where am I going to go? How am I going to be? Am I going to be in a dark space forever? Am I going to run into and see the people, my loved ones who passed before me? Am I going to be in a good place? Am I going to be in a bad place? What's going to happen to me? So the question is, what's going to happen to me? Not what's going to happen to my husband or my child or my friend or my mom. Your main question is what's going to happen to you. Now, you may say, oh, yeah, I'm also really worried and concerned about my husband or my kids or my friends. Yes, I understand that. But your main concern is yourself before anybody else. What's going to happen to me? And pay attention. Check it out for yourself. And I'm not saying it's selfish, but it is what it is what's in there for me. It's me comes first. That's it. But if you are somehow able to go beyond this idea of me as a separated person, as an individual who is not a part of the oneness, if you're capable to expand your awareness, your point of view, your vision, and open more, then you will start to see that this me story, it's a sort of like an optical illusion. It's something that doesn't even exist. It's a sense that it is. It's a story that I'm really identified to it, but in the vastness of existence, in the truth of existence, this person in separation doesn't even exist. It's not even there because it's not separated from everything. It is a part of everything. So, is there life after death? Again, as I mentioned, it's a very complicated topic. It depends. It depends where you are. It depends how awakened you have become. Because if you really believe that you are this person and by the death of this person you are no more, then that's what it is. But if you have shifted to come to this place that when you are here and there's no thoughts and you are completely expanded, you're everything, you have come to this place of I am. You have dropped into the truth of who you are, the I amness. You are here, and this consciousness cannot be destroyed. It doesn't have a lifespan. It's not like it's only going to be from this point to this point. It's here always. So again, I'm just going to repeat this part so make sure you understand. Is it all depends if you in this life are able to transcend, you're able to shift and from this me thing that it's only me and against the world, you have shifted into the I am. Then it's a complete different story because in that then you lose your fear of death. There's a transition or appears to be a transition, but in that understanding that I am, only the body appears and disappears, not who you are. Who you are doesn't come and go, it's here. And when I say who you are, I'm not talking about your story. You're coming with your story. That's a part of the egoic identification to the person. That somehow it's designed to be this way to create this illusion that there is a person here. And this person needs to really look after itself. And is this strong identification with the thoughts, with the body, with the emotions. So once that happens, and you begin when it starts clicking, because again, you get the glimpses of it that when you're in absolute silence and there's no thoughts, so there's no questioner, no one's questioning things, and you are experiencing your own vastness. and this topic doesn't even exist. It's completely irrelevant. But then when the identification comes back to the individual, then of course the story comes back and there's the fear of what's going to happen to me. Any questions? Anybody?
I thought that we might meet again with the family that has passed away.
Do we meet our family?
Yes, I thought so. But, well, nobody knows.
Well, let's put it this way. If we, let's say we put this glass and we put it in the ocean, and the glass is empty and I fill it up, and now I have the water in there, it's the ocean. So I took this glass out of the ocean and I put it here. So when I die and I pour this water back into the ocean, and people you love and they've been connected with you, they've been in your life, they all have gone back into the ocean. Now you're being poured in there. The glass is the water in it, we're going to pour it back into the ocean. So all of it is already there. So in a way, yes, you reconnect. And also in another way is that the people who died and you care for and you have love for, this love that you have for them, it never goes away. And this connection that you have with your beloved dead ones, it's always here. So the form changes. And again, as I mentioned, we're so conditioned to really look at the form because we're perceiving the form is defining the being. So when this is how I'm thinking, I'm looking for a form, then yeah, when I die, it's a different story because there is no form. You have gone back into the ocean of consciousness, which all your beloved ones, they're there too. So there is no longer, it's the essence of them that happens through the heart, the love that you sense it. Like, if I there are times I really sense my sister, my dad, my best friend, and there's this really strong deep connection, and that never changed. even though these people in my that were in my life at one point physically, and then they died. But the connection that in my heart I feel with them hasn't changed. In fact, it became stronger. That was a good question, by the way. So again, as I mentioned, I want to repeat this part of it again so it's more clear, is that if I'm thinking of form and I'm this form and this thing, no, I mean, I'm not going to, after I die, I'm not going to meet the form. But again, you got to go beyond the form. You have to go back into this place of the I am. And then in that comes the realization that there's never been a separation. We never got separated from the people we love because it's here. It's all here. But of course, this is a transition. It's a big leap of going from this individual human identity, which is conditioned, to shifting into the vastness of the being of I am that holds everything in it. I remember I was 6 years old and my grandfather had died. Um, we my we were in the car with my parents. I was sitting in the back. This part I very clearly remember. I was looking through the window. It was raining and raindrops were falling, and I'm 6 years old. And I'm just looking through the window, and it was like questioning that how can I die? If this body dies, I am thinking, I am here. How can I not be anymore? How can I terminate? How, and it was very clear to me that it's impossible. It's impossible for me to die. So I asked my parents, "What happens when you die?" And and they both said, "Well, when you die, you're no more. You're no longer." And I clearly remember I said, "That's not true." And I was 6 years old. Because at that time, I knew I am. It was so clear to me. The knowing that I am and I am can never die. It can never be touched. It's always here. Of course, I don't remember the conversation didn't go any further um, because, of course, they brushed it off, and I'm a 6-year-old kid. What do I know? So, from their point of view, but that was the knowing which was there at that age. Anybody, any other questions? Do you ever worry about things you don't think about? You never worry about things that you don't think about. So when you learn and you dive within and you have the transformation from the head to the heart, and you're in inner silence, then the whole idea, the concept, the thoughts of life after death, it becomes irrelevant. It becomes non existing.
Thank you,
Oh,
Zarathustra.
oh, you're welcome, Marit. I'm glad you brought it up.
It was enlightening.
You're welcome. The idea of the I thought, me, separated from I am, separated from existence, creates this ripple and this way of thinking, because the entire thing becomes about the uh, what's going to happen to me. What's going to happen to me? Me. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be taken care of? Am I going to be protected? The thoughts come. But when you learn to go beyond the thoughts, the mind, and you become familiar with this other part of yourself, that it's already here, and you dive into presence here, and you refuse to entertain thoughts, you refuse to pick them up and go anywhere with them. So you get to train yourself to simply spending chunk of time during the day with no thought process. Then a transformation starts to happen in your life, because the space starts to open up. You're expanding. And as the space opens up, the mind becomes quiet. In this transition, understanding starts to come. But it's a different understanding. It's not a mindy understanding. The wisdom comes. It's the recognition of your vastness, because you're connecting with the I am, you're connecting with the bigger picture, and you're refusing to get into any mind entertainments, any kind of stories, any kind of concepts. And there has to be a certain spiritual maturity to come to this place, because you're have arrived at the last stage of your spiritual evolvement as a human being, that you're diving into the world of silence. You're becoming quiet. You're going into the background. You're fading away into the presence. Yeah, of course, every once in a while a thought bubbles up, and it's important because you need to express yourself and ask your question or inquire into it. But if you think you're going to understand the vastness by thinking about it, it would never happen. Because every question you have, and you ask the question from your teacher, five other questions going to come out, because the mind wants to understand why is it like this, why is that, why life is so cruel, why is this happening to me. Why am I going through these things? It wants to understand these things. And you keep feeding it. So it's got more questions. Until you come to this understanding, until you get a glimpse of it, that the key is not trying to figuring it out with the mind. There's another type of understanding, and that's the understanding of the heart. It's a complete different story, totally different. And in that, the wisdom reveals itself. The other day, I don't know where I was driving somewhere, and I started to laugh. I was laughing at myself. It was like, wow, you really don't know anything. And it's true. It was like, wow, I don't know anything in the face of the vastness. It's like, okay, yeah, I have some people come to me and look up to me as a wise man or somebody who's maybe found some answers. But the deeper you go inside, the more you realize, wow, I don't know anything because it's so vast. But then again, you cannot know it with your mind. You have to go beyond the mind, you have to bypass it. And to bypass it is to figure out a way, learning to be in silence, inner silence, and keep working on that part, trusting it and keep working on it. So you become more comfortable and more comfortable with not knowing. And then it reveals itself. It shows itself to itself, but in a different way, not the way we think. And as you go deeper into this place, the heart opens up more. And then you start to see the order, that in the middle of the chaos, there's an order. There's a force that's running the show called life. There's an intelligence in there. And so more surrendering, keep surrendering more into it, and you have gratitude. And then you're going to see magic. Magic starts to, it always happens, but we're not paying attention to it because we've been so programmed, so brainwashed. But then when this shift starts to happen, you begin to see the magic of life, that it's perfect. It's operating as in perfection. And there's wisdom in it. Very well. Any other questions? Any comments? Anybody want to share? So we still have the workshop, Awakening from the Dream. Um, oh, we got a question here. Let's see. This is okay. Do you want to ask me this question so everybody else can hear it? Mona?
Hello. Sorry for the delay that I was just had some people over. I couldn't just have the camera, so I do apologize. But I couldn't miss this session. I just wanted to attend
Okay.
anyways.
You're welcome.
To be honest, recently I'm so into having dreams. I mean, bad dreams normally. And since my childhood, I had the dream of like being dead, and my parents are there crying for me, but I'm talking to them. I want to tell them that I'm there, but they cannot see me, and I'm at my own funeral. And at the same time, like that feeling of not being seen by other people, or because you're dead, you know that you're dead. I mean, these things happen in my dreams. I wanted to know if there is any interpretation to them, or there's any reason that they are happening all the time. And recently, I mean, I have them, like not just death. Some of them are about dying. Some of them about I don't know, different things happen. But one of them is about dying and my own death. And as I die, and then it's gone. Like nobody can see me. Nobody can. I cannot connect to other people. So
Right.
I just wanted to know if it is relevant.
Right. So in your dream, you see that you die, and when you die, then nobody can connect with you or see you, correct?
Exactly. I want to tell them that I'm still alive,
Right.
like my colleagues, or if I see that the recurring one is my funeral and all my family. I mean, all the members are there crying for me, but and I want to tell them, but I cannot.
Right. Right. So the question is if it's. Sorry, tell me, what is your question?
It said, how about the recurring dreams of one's death? Like somebody feels that she or he is dead in the dream.
Yeah. Well, there is still witnessing happening to this event. So who is witnessing this death and questioning it?
I'm just saying that I'm dead and everybody is crying.
Right. Yeah. So there's an awareness, there's a presence observing the death of a character named Mona. So you're seeing Mona dies. People are crying for Mona. Mona's dead in the dream, but Mona wants to say, hey, I'm not dead. So you see this. You see the whole story. So where are you that you're seeing it?
I am there, like, and I sometimes I go to them and I try to, like, even I can touch them, but I think they do not feel that I'm there. So
yeah, but what I'm referring to is this whole thing happened, correct? And now you're reporting it. So it happens to who? Somebody is here seeing this movie. Somebody's watching the movie. So in this movie, you're seeing the character, a girl named Mona, is dying. And then she's trying to talk to her parents, but they're not hearing it. You are observing yourself.
actually, I see the body being buried, but I feel that I'm still the body. You know, it's very strange, and it's a little bit frightening at the same time. It's a very beautiful place, actually, the funeral, but the fact that I see my body being buried, but I still feel that I'm inside that body and everybody needs to see me is a little bit strange.
Yeah.
And when I wake up, it's terrifying. Or the same thing happens at work. Like I go to work, I feel that my colleagues, I want to tell them that I'm alive, but something had happened that I died and I cannot communicate with them. So
Right.
what is that? Like I still identify myself with that character because of that.
Yeah, you're observing a story. It's like a movie you're watching, and the mind keep recreates it, which is okay because it forces you to question things. It forces you to dig deeper into who is dying. Because if you die and you're finished, so then how is it being observed? There's something that doesn't die, is observing this story happening. This whole thing, you have to be up here, you're in the back, you're watching. The girl named Mona in this story dies, and she's trying to tell her parents that, but still being observed. The I am remains the I am. Okay. The Cecilia, I got your message uh, regarding talking about my near-death experiences. That we'll leave it for another day. It's one of those days I'm not very talkative, but I got your message. Maria, yeah, I got your message, Maria. Thank you. Appreciate it. Keep working on coming back in, being in this place that is the observer. Come back to the observer, the one that's witnessing. That's witnessing the thought pattern and all the chaos going on in the mind. It's witnessing these emotions, feeling good, feeling bad. I'm happy, I'm sad. My body is not doing well, is doing well. Something is watching it. Someone is watching it. So come back to that one, the one who's watching it, not what is watching. The one that is has the ability to witness, not what he or she is witnessing. You bring the attention to that one and you keep your focus there. It will click, it's going to come. We'll keep over we go over it again and again and again, and through the transmission of coming together, it will make sense. One day it will click. So anyway, we're having this workshop, Awakening from the Dream. um, if we have enough people participating, I'm going to do it. If not, we'll just postpone it to another date. If you have any questions, you can go on my website, check it out on the calendar event. Um, Other than that, uh, our website is zarathustra.tv. My email address is info@zarathustra.tv, and my social media pages are Zarathustra 5D. A copy of this broadcast will be emailed to you, those of you signed up with us through the Zoom. And also, we're going to put out the podcast. And this broadcast will be on YouTube as well as Facebook, and we're broadcasting it live on Instagram. I look forward to seeing you. Our next event is going to be next Wednesday. Um, I am getting ready to accept one or two students for life training program, in case if anybody's interested, and you're welcome to contact me. And I'm starting to sense that I'm ready to take one or two people. So if you're interested for a consultation, you can send me an email and we'll set up a time and we talk about it. It's a um, one-on-one um program that is designed to meet your needs. So feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you more information. Other than that, sending you a lot of love and light, and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Namaste. See, I have two more messages here.